Hello everybody, how are you doing? It is Sunday, July 5th, and I am out in the shop. I've been home for a couple days. We got Friday off of work because of the national holiday. Saturday I was off work, but I really was not able to get into the shop. There were so many other things going. There's a big old cobweb there. I've been out here for a while. You can tell the cobwebs are forming. But I'm out here today. I don't really know what I'm going to do. I got my little book over here. I need to sit down, take a peek at that, kind of get organized and decide what direction I want to take. But I released a new video today. It should be on my other channel earlier this morning, and it is about the setup of my disc sander and how I go about preparing to square pins. Let me know what you think about that. That was a suggestion I got from someone on a Patreon hangout that said, hey, why don't you break things down and talk about each individual tool in excruciating detail. So I thought I'd try that, and if the reaction is good to that video, then I will do some more on the process of prepping a pin. I'll break each process down into great detail for you. So let me know what you think about that. Whoops, my power button just came on. My little phone here I'm using a phone for this particular channel is only at 10%, so I got to get her on charge. I was going to tell you something else and I forgot. Let me flip around and show you. I got a little bit of a mail call. Some things have come in, and I've been bad about mail call lately. I've got to get back in the habit of doing mail call when things come in, but I've got a few things I want to flip around and show you guys. Take a look at this. Bob Hayden sent this to me. Those are strips for segmenting. This is amazing. Just look at all the different woods in there. I know it's kind of hard to see through the plastic, but this is awesome. I cannot wait to start segmenting with this. This is great. Bob, thank you so much. And Hugh over Wouldn't It Be Nice sent this to me. These are 2 Omega pin kits. This is a roller ball. This is a fountain pen. And Hugh watched the video I did where I compared the European fountain pen to the Classic Elite, and he wanted to send me this Omega to have me build the pen and then give my opinion on that. And I want you guys to know there's more to come on that. I have spoken with both Niels and Debbie over at the Classic Nib, and they gave me a ton of information, things I can look into and try with those fountain pens to get them writing, because you remember they would write, then they would skip. I just haven't got to do it yet because there just hasn't been a good opportunity. But I have probably 5 or 6 fountain pens I want to clean out, and I want to go through some of the steps that they gave me and just kind of see if I can get that European and that Classic writing a little better. And then I have some pen flush that Niels and Debbie sent me that I really want to test out. And I'll do a video on that. It's all a timing thing right now because I just have not had quite the opportunity to do the video. I got a couple of things here I want to show you. Check this out. My good buddy Eddie Stipe contacted Fastcap, and my glue bot was leaking, and check this out. These are seals for I believe they fit all the different glue bots. This is awesome. Thank you, Eddie. And Eddie also sent this to me. This, I think that says Gin Pen 8016. I can't read as well as I used to, or I can't see as well as I used to. Check that out. This is a beautiful fountain pen. Eddie sent this to me. Now, I haven't inked this one yet, but I'm going to ink it, and I'm going to start using it because my other fountain pens, I went ahead and used all of them down to the point of being completely empty. That way I can flush them all, and I didn't have to. A couple of them had cartridges in them. A couple of them had ink that I was using, and I didn't want to. You can put it back in the bottle. If you use a converter and pull the ink out of a pen, you can put it back in the bottle. But I just didn't want to do that, so I went ahead and used all of my fountain pens. I don't have a single fountain pen inked right now because, like I said, there's 5 or 6 of them. But I'm going to ink that one and start using it, and then in the meantime, I'm going to work to put together some time to clean those others and see if I can get the European and the Classic working reasonably. And if I do, I will report back on that. I'll be honest about it, and I'll take back what I said, because it could be my lack of knowledge on fountain pens causing the issue. Okay, I got to get to work. That was a long opening today, but I got to get to work, and I'll see what I can do, and I'll let you guys, I'll keep you posted on everything that happens today in the shop. I wanted to show everybody I needed a little more room for stickers because my loft is getting full. I may have to eventually move this, but I took my high school license plate dropped it down, and that gave me room to put the latest stickers that I've received. It's still early in the morning, and I think I'm done with turning for today. It's just not meant to be. I was turning this crayon blank, and you can see I have it glued up. I turned a little chip off the end of it, and I couldn't figure out why. I mean, I did the old ABC method. I anchored the tool on the tool rest. I set the bevel to the bushing, and then as I turned in to perform my cut, I cut a big chunk out of the side of the blank. It came off in one piece. There is one little nick that I can hide under a clip, but I was miffed. I didn't know what happened. So glued it up, put it aside, grabbed another blank, and I was getting ready. I thought, you know, before I turn this blank, I'm gonna put a new edge on my tool, sharpen it up. I sharpened the tool, and I found that especially on the side that I was cutting on, there were a ton of chips out of the tool, the bevel, or the cutting edge, and I don't understand why there were so many chips. I didn't sharpen before I started turning, but that I'm aware of. I have not dropped the tool, knocked it off the table. It was setting underneath of my sander the entire time, so I don't understand how I got those chips. But I found it was apparent when I started, you know, you put the red marker on there and then you run it across the grinding wheel, and then you can see the imperfections. So I fixed that. I began turning the second blank, and on the second blank, the piece that I attached to it had some cross grain, and I caught a little piece of that cross grain and just sheared it off, which not a big deal. It didn't hurt anything. It is definitely fixable, and I'm gonna focus on the fix, getting that on there, getting that glued up. And but I think turning is probably not a good idea when you've had two issues like that already. Anything I put on that lathe is you know, it's destined to be a slow motion shot, right? If you know what I mean. So I think we're going to pass on that, and I'm going to see what other kind of trouble I can get into. I think I'm going to try to set up some, you know, some turnings. Try to get some projects set up so that I can knock them down. And I know I have several blanks over there I need to turn, but man, I just don't want to make scrap all day, right? So, okay, I'll keep you guys posted on what happens. I got away from turning pins, and I shot another short video. This video deals with drilling blanks. It deals with the tools that I use and the process that I go through, including setup of the drill press, which is far simpler and far easier than the disc sander, but it's the process that I go through to drill my blanks. And I hope there will be some information contained in that video that you find useful and you're able to take and use in your shop to enhance your pin making. So I'd really like to know what you thought about the sanding disc video, or the disc sander video, the setup, and if that one gets a lot of positive response, I'll post this one. If that one goes down the tubes, I probably just put this one in the archives for now. You know, because I think this is a good video. It's going to be even shorter than the sanding disc video, or the disc sander video. Keep wanting to say sanding disc. It's going to be shorter, but I think it has some great info. So I really hope that, I haven't even really looked at the comments yet. I saw a couple of the first few because I just posted the video and then came out to the shop. So I'm really anxious to see how people are receiving that information. So it's always good to get feedback. Okay, guys. I'm going to move on and see what other kind of trouble I can get into. This is something small, but it's been bothering me. I purchased this bandsaw from LO Woodworks, and Lynn Lacey put his sticker on there, and I added one of my stickers, but notice this, it's not sticking very well. So today, we're going to go ahead and get this sticker off of the bandsaw. And I'm going to clean this area, and I'm going to apply a new sticker right over top of it. Something small, but you know, if it bugs you, fix it. That looks so much better. I don't know why that bothered me, but it's bothered me for a while, and today I just thought, let's correct it. I think what'll happen is, I really don't want to remove my Go Card sign, so I think as I fill this area up here, I'll move over and start applying shop stickers to my bandsaw. There's quite a bit of room, top to bottom, to be able to get, you know, a bunch of stickers on there. So I think this will be the next sticker canvas. I just made another fix for a blank that I blew up. I didn't blow the whole blank up. I got to the end of that blank, that is the blank Tommy Stridham sent me, and I was attaching a part of a chaos blank to it. Well, that was one of those experimental chaos blanks where I used cross grain wood, and I talk about it a little bit in the video. I should have switched over to the skew, because the skew would have cut right through that cross grain, whereas the roughing gouge that I was using, it caught and pulled a little chunk out. So I cleaned it off. I still got the majority of the Chaos blank on there, but I found a nice little chunk of African blackwood. It's going to give a really nice contrast to cap that pin. So I've got that drilled out. I've got it ready to be glued up. I've got a couple of things to glue up, so I'm going to wait, and I'm going to do them all at the same time, only because you know, it's silly to mix that epoxy up and do something and then come back a half an hour later and mix it up and do something else. It's just easier to do it all at once and just glue everything and set it aside to dry. And you never know, I may come up with something else I want to glue today. So we're going to let that go. And I think I'm going to start measuring for a bespoke pin today. I've been doing some bespoke pins over on my Patreon channel. I call it Bespoke on a Budget, where I try to use minimal tools so that it's a lot less expensive for people to get into turning bespoke pins. And I have been doing some research on fountain pins, because fountain pin nibs and feeds are very expensive to get a decent quality one. And I found a low cost fountain pin that I purchased off of eBay, and I really like the way that it writes. The nib is incredible for such an inexpensive pin. So I bought 6 of them. They're not here yet. They're on a slow boat. They're going to be a while, but I still have the original one that I bought, and I think I'm going to maybe take some measurements. I can't. I thought I was going to take some measurements today, but it just occurred to me I haven't cleaned the pin out yet. It would need to be cleaned before I could take measurements. Darn it. Okay, scrap that. Let's go to something else. But if you're interested in seeing those, I am doing that series over on Patreon for the Patreon subscribers. So if you want to check that out, check it out and let me know what you think. I'm working with this nib. I took it out of another fountain pen, and the issue I'm having is I'm trying to determine the pitch of the thread, and it is a 6.5 millimeter diameter for the entire housing, but the thread I'm having trouble determining, and I guess I've got a pitch gauge. Let me bring you over here. I've got this pitch gauge, and I've been looking at it, but it just doesn't really seem to fit either of the two smaller pitches, which is 8 and I think 10. So I'm going to do a little research and find out what that thread pattern is on the back of this, because that's what I need to get to in an effort to be able to make a section for this nib. And that's the nib I got. I'm not going to mention the fountain pen I got it out of. Not at this point. I will when I do a video, but the fountain pen is, you know, it doesn't cost as much. The entire fountain pen does not cost as much as like a Daycom nib. And this is a number 5 nib. Daycoms are number 5 or number 6, depending on what you buy. But I'm going to use that to do a bespoke on a budget. And the idea is teach people how to build a fountain pen, and then they can build it cheaply. And then if they want to build a quality fountain pen, they can start thinking about, okay, how can I save up for, you know, what it's going to cost, because the tools are very expensive and the actual quality nibs are very expensive. But this is decent quality at a very low price, and will get you in the door and let you build some experience. So that way you're not spending a ton of money, you know, until you've already got a little learning under your belt. So I got to do a little more work on that. Yeah, we'll figure it out. Just finished turning a crayon blank. I know I said I wasn't going to turn any more today. I really didn't do too much turning. The piece that exploded, I glued back on. So I just came in and just kind of shaved it off, got rid of the excess glue where it sort of runs down the blank, you know, cleaned the end up, got it down to the bushing. I went ahead and micro meshed it, and I stopped. It turned out beautiful from micro mesh. I haven't even buffed it yet. The blank is beautiful, but the piece that I chipped out, where it gets glued back into the pin, at either end of it, there's a little chip missing. If there was only one chip missing, I could hide it with a clip. There's 2 chips. I haven't figured out how to fix it yet. So that one's going to go on the table, and I'm going to think about it for a while in hopes that I can come up with a way to correct it. I just haven't landed on that yet. And, you know, please don't say, oh, well, recast it. You know, that's a lot easier said than done, because trying to match color and all that, it's virtually impossible. It's a great idea, but it's virtually impossible. You know, I thought maybe I had a piece of the blank left that I could part off and fill it with, but I don't, because that blank was almost the perfect size. It was made for about a Sierra style pin, and when I centered the tube, there was just a tiny bit at each end, maybe 1/8 of an inch, and I cleaned that up on the sander. So I don't know what to do yet, and really I want to put it out of my mind for a little bit, because that's where my best ideas come from. Don't put too much effort into thinking about them. Just know that it's there, and eventually you'll see something or hear something, or some idea will pop into your head, and I can come out here and try it, and maybe I can correct it. So you may see that one again. I am toying with the idea of going ahead and putting the video out, because I shot a closing to the video where I talked about, you know, this type of thing happens, right? Where you never get perfect at making pins. You get better, you make nicer pins, you learn cool techniques, but you're never perfect on every single pin that you spin. And you know, so I'm thinking about putting the video out from that perspective. I just don't know if people are going to want to watch a video where in the end it's not really not really a pin, but we'll worry about that later. All right, let's see what else I can do. I got a few more hours, couple of more hours out here before I need to go in and get cleaned up, because we are going to record a podcast tonight. So be sure to check out You Made That. I'd love to hear what you guys think about it. We've seen a few reviews. If you check out the podcast, if you like it, jump onto your favorite podcast software there and give us a 5-star review. We could really use it. What happens when you do that is it doesn't cost you anything. It doesn't cost us anything. But what it does is the more 5-star reviews you get, the higher up you start to move into the podcast sphere, whatever they call it. You know, I don't know what the terminology is exactly, but the higher up you move, the more you get suggested, the more people find you, the more people watch your podcast, and it helps your podcast. It helps your podcast to grow. So if you guys like it, please do that. And hey, comment on it. We would love to have some comments to read on air. That's always fun to do, and we'd like to include a listener comment section. We're working on it. We've got a few, but we'd like to get a few more. So help us out on that. All right, I'm going to see what else I can get into. I've been trying to figure out the threads on this housing for this nib, this nib for this fountain pen. Man, I just totally went blank for a second. And I think I know what it is, but I can't be 100% sure. So before I go buy a tap to make it, you know, I'm going to do a little more research maybe tonight, because I want to understand what the pitch and the thread is, and I think it's a 6.5 millimeter, and now I forgot what I wrote down as the pitch, but I gotta figure someplace I can go. I know the Home Depot stores and stuff, they sometimes have those bolts on the wall where those panels where you can screw nuts into them or whatever, or screw bolts into nuts and figure the pitch and the thread pattern. But this is kind of a fine one, so I don't think they would have anything quite this fine, but I'm gonna have to find some way to be able to learn that. And I've got a gauge over there, but the gauge just it's not quite on the money, so we'll see. I've been talking for a while about putting some of my pins up for sale. I've been kind of conflicted about it. I don't need 30 pins, right? I just don't need them. And you feel kind of bad about selling them, you know, because, I don't know, you want to keep everything, right? But I can't keep everything. These have been sitting in my closet in this pin case for quite some time. But I have a group of pins that I just finished filming. And what I'm going to do is I need to do a little research and find out which ones of these pins have videos associated with them, so that I can link those videos. And I need to put the video together that I shot of the pins for the pin sale, and then I'm going to get that put on the channel. So if you are interested in purchasing one of these pins, they will be available to you. And whether you buy a pin or you just look out of curiosity, thank you both ways. I really appreciate it. Like I said, it is difficult for me to part with these, because many of them are video pins, and you know, they kind of hold a special place in your heart, but I can't keep everything. And I've got another huge pile of pins over here, but these are older pins that I did. Some were video pins, some weren't. A lot of these are slim lines and stuff I used to turn way back. I doubt I'll even put those out there. I tried to pick some of the nicer ones, you know, and get them on the channel, but I doubt I'll do anything with those, because I don't know, they just don't excite me. those will probably stay in the closet, right? That's about it for me. It's still early. I think it's about, well, shucks, my clock stopped. I don't know what time it is. But I want to get in the house. I want to get cleaned up. I'd like to work on this video. I want to get prepared for the taping of the next episode if you made that. And I'd like to thank you guys for hanging out with me. This video got a little bit long, but there was a lot of just bouncing around happening today in the shop, and I want to keep you guys up to speed. So have a great day, and I will talk to you again very, very soon.